CIBER Field, where this afternoon the stage is set in glorious Colorado sunshine. DU against South Dakota State for the Summit League Championship, the women's final. And two of the more experienced coaches, Jeff Hooker of DU in his 23rd year, one of the most experienced men in the college game, and his opposite number, Lang Wiedemann, 15th year. As we get the signal, this game is about set to get underway at CIBER Field. It will be South Dakota State getting us underway, kicking from right to left in this first half. And we've got a bit of a mixture of the two sorts of weather from Thursday, the breeze, Brian, and the sunshine.
Well, it's a gorgeous afternoon. When you think about November in Denver, this is a perfect conditions to play in. That little breeze will keep it nice on the field. Great sunshine. The field's in tremendous shape. The other night we saw it being a little bit hard, where people were losing their footing a little bit, but and I think it softened up slightly today. So great conditions to play a final.
Early chance here for DU. Free kick delivered into the heart of the penalty area. Well headed clear, but not fully. And this will be Wesley on this near side, trying to deliver, and out for a goal kick. At what point in the early stages of this game will we get an indication, because these are two unchanged starting lineups from Thursday's semi-finals, at what point will we maybe get an indication, or will it be early on, that these two sides have got some of that fatigue out of the legs?
Well, I think you're going to see both teams try to impose themselves on this game early, because they both play a similar style. Who can keep the ball moving? If the ball movement becomes labored, if they have to defend, they know that it's going to work against them. So I think you're going to see the team that is able to early on move the ball, continue to possess, pass, complete as many passes as they possibly can through the first 15, 20 minutes of this game. That'll be the team that establishes themselves and gives themselves a better shot of beating that fatigue.
Well, it's DU attacking down this near side. Cross comes in. It's over everybody. It's still not fully cleared, though. There's still the danger for South Dakota State. Back to Dutton on this far side. Bothner looking to deliver. It will be a corner kick for the Pioneers. Stella Norman wandering across to take that, being covered by Shelby Raper. She'll just stand the 10 yards from the corner flag. There's plenty of crimson jerseys in the penalty area. This is a long one. It's gone deep, back into the heart of the penalty box. South Dakota State not able to get full laces on it. Shot from distance. Oh! Just over the top of the bar. And that gave the keeper here, Nikolinski, a real scare.
Well, good decision by Garzaloni. She gets the ball at the top of the 18 with her back to it. Very simple set, and Harder just goes over the top, not by much. And certainly DU taking the initiative. You see the fullbacks pushed in. You see Bothner in early on. There again, you see the great set and a good effort, and DU certainly on the front foot over the first 5 minutes of this game.
Hatcher getting involved. Nicole Hatcher had a good game on Thursday. Very busy. This will be a free kick for South Dakota State. Danny Patterson. And getting some distance on this. Some defending for DU to do. Not cleared, drops to Hatcher. Couldn't quite get a clean touch on that. DU will look to try and bring the ball away once again. Breaks down in midfield. Patterson going down the line. Should be comfortable for Bothner. Two DU players going for the same ball there. Loomis and Willis. Ratcliffe on this near side. Collect once again. Trying to thread it through the inside left channel. You can already see, Brian, DU and South Dakota State have possession, just crowding the player in possession and trying to hurry the play along.
Well, and right now, South Dakota State has been a little bit one-sided in the way they've approached it. DU's done a good job of getting their heads down, keeping it in one area. And you see players break early, but then the second piece of that, if they can't play the early ball, South Dakota State gets stuck. And like you said, with numbers around the ball, easy to turn over.
So Jackrabbits have possession. McNary floating one over the top, not quite there. Well, one back there by Shelby Wesley. Goes long, just try to clear their lines. There are some Colorado girls in the South Dakota State team, and I overheard that the players are spending some time at the family home of one of those girls here in Colorado. So they've had a nice family meal. And I imagine that 24, 36 hour period, it's not just about recharging and trying to ease that fatigue, but it's remaining relaxed. And if you can go to a family home, there's, I imagine, no better way.
Well, and this South Dakota State team is young, so being able to spend some time together to kind of ease the nerves together, playing in the final, you know, that's a lot of time to kill and think about what you've got to get accomplished. So those moments as a college team are really important.
These two sides looking to win this particular competition for a second time. Winners on one previous occasion each. DU, of course, defending champions, winning in their first season in the Summit League in 2013. With a win on that occasion against North Dakota State. They were conquered on Thursday by South Dakota State by 2-1. And that has been the pattern of the conference, I think. Summit League has been very competitive, very close, very tight. It's the high ball, giving DU something to deal with, still bouncing around, not fully cleared. Adams delivering it, curling that one across. Vargas is going to have to give chase, and she gets there just in time.
South Dakota finding the ball with possession in that half of the field, and Vargas does a great job of coming off her line and reading that. Certainly a dangerous ball in, and the first kind of real clear-cut chance that South Dakota State has had in this match.
Raper trying to get away from Wesley, and she does so. Looks to get the return, not forthcoming. Collects once again, though. The ball slightly awry. And DU can try and rebuild over on the far side. Just miscued there by McNary.
I think there's a very interesting matchup kind of coming together with Potterveld and Harder. And Harder's doing a good job of neutralizing her at this point. Would then be Raper going into that space? How are they going to solve that? If she occupies the center back, then how are they going to get beyond that line? And it's going to be an interesting one to watch as the half develops.
Waiting for bodies in the middle. There is one. It's half a chance. That was well cleared, well tidied up by Delaney Ratcliffe. Again, in the thick of things on Thursday. Wesley with a throw. Plenty of white jerseys between DU and the goal, and South Dakota State able to clear. Straight back at them, though. Norman back to Dutton. Going down the inside left channel. Collected by Loomis. Too many numbers there. Finds its way through though, eventually back to goal. Willis going through the middle, seems to have opened up a little bit here. It's just overdone on that occasion. Good defending job from South Dakota State. Closed the gap, closed the lines.
When you see the Denver forwards having to come off that line, pick up balls between lines, they're not threatening in behind. That's a fullback that's trying to get into that space there. So South Dakota State doing a good job of forcing the ball to go higher on the field. And if you even see Loomis dropping back in and picking up balls in here.
Didn't quite get the distance there. There's a chance here for DU. There's a real stinger straight down the throat of Nicole Inskeep, and taking that one nicely. The two keepers have had some work to do. That's going to settle their nerves. It's always good to get the early touch. Just over 10 minutes gone in this game. No score so far. A little stop-start it's been, though. Danny Patterson once again with a free kick. That drilled with a bit of venom there. Vargas will comfortably gather that one. Just needed maybe a little bit more of an angle on that, and could have caused problems dropping in behind that back line in front of the keeper.
Well, in the two previous games, you've seen mistakes come with players trying to clear those balls and chances coming off the balls dropping in behind that back four. So certainly that type of cross has been dangerous within the tournament.
Another free kick. 5 DU jerseys along the 18-yard box, and that will be looked upon as a bit of a wasted opportunity.
A lot like my 3 would.
I didn't see too much of a divot picked up, so not entirely accurate. Inskeep down with the goal kick. So you're going to have to give chase. You can see the assistant referee over on the far side. The flag is fluttering, and you can possibly pick up the breeze on our microphones. It's going straight down the throat of Nicole Inskeep. Maybe that's one of the reasons for not getting too much distance on the goal kicks. So her team have got to be aware of that and maybe drop 5 or 10 yards so it's not coming straight back at them. Almost 15 minutes gone. That's CIBER Field here on Altitude TV. It's the Summit League Championship game. It's the men's event next weekend, and that's a very close affair as well. We'll be talking in more detail at half-time about that. It's the final weekend for those guys. Not sure they're going to have the kind of weather we've got this weekend. Forecast for next weekend is not so favourable.
It would be tough. It's so nice today.
Willis, ball down the far side. Heavy touch. And that just took Bothner away from goal. And, the second touch put out of play. So one change there. Caitlin Higgins comes in for DU, takes her place at left back. And Mackenzie Bothner switches from left to right, with Shelby Wesley making way. An early change made by Jeff Hookup less than 15 minutes into the contest. what's the thought there? Maybe a little bit too much for Shelby Raper, who's getting too much joy down that near side?
Well, I think that's one issue. I think the other issue is just maybe wants a little bit more on the ball on that right-hand side as well and being able to play out. But Raper has certainly had a little bit of freedom to go at it, so it's probably two-pronged in what you're thinking there.
A very early change made by the DU coach. It's all tight on this near side. A little wayward. I think that was one of the other things pointed out by Jeff Hooker after the game on Thursday. Just wanting the passes to be a little crisper. You don't want to be working too hard. And maybe there's such an example. An open pass 15 yards away.
Well, it's a great example because there's no one within 15, 20 yards as she tries to receive that ball. These are the spaces they'd like to get into. They've just got to execute technically if they want to do that.
South Dakota State tidying things up at the back, but struggling at times to get out of their half. And a change being made by Lang Wiedemeyer.
South Dakota State, number 28, Jenny Sislow.
Jenny Sislow is coming in. And Madison Ewell making way. So both coaches have made early changes. And both have been on this near side. One trying to combat the other. No score so far. Couple of scares. DU coming forward once again. Dispossessed. Jack Rabbits can now maybe break. Some space in the centre. And out wide, if Hatcher can be found. He's got some running to do. Dutton's giving chase as well. Who's going to win that one? And it's won well by Nicole Hatcher, and a corner kick for South Dakota State.
Well, an early test for Caitlin Higgins there. Certainly a good job of picking up the ball by Sislow in the middle of the field and really testing her, because I think we know that Hatcher's got pace. She can get in behind the fullback there, and Caitlin Higgins proved she's up to at least trying that. She may have to narrow off a little bit, prevent that ball from going in behind her right now.
Corner kick from the far side, delivered long. At the back is Ratcliffe, floating one back over. Nobody attacking that far post. Floated into that space.
We've seen in both games on these corner kicks, as you crash the ball in the center of the goal, it's almost always an option for that ball to come on in that late arriving far post type player. And you saw Tori Poole in the first game of the tournament, have a lot of success there. Those are opportunities that have to be taken in these types of games.
It has been noticeable how many free kicks there's been in the opening 19 minutes of this game. It's been a little stop-start. That's possibly affected the fluidity and the flow of the game.
Well, and each of these free kicks has been lumped forward in here, not very effectively. It'd be interesting to see if at any time one of these teams wants to try to play early while everybody's dropping off.
Higgins couldn't quite get the cross in, and Hatcher will break for South Dakota State. Bodies over, just waiting, holding the line. A couple of players had strayed offside, and Hatcher delaying the pass. Does well to wriggle away. Adams in support. Hatcher outsider. Hatcher's found once again. Looking to attack, now doubling up, turning away.
Well, here you see Hatcher getting into those wide areas and really getting isolated on Caitlin Higgins. And Higgins is having to do a good job, but Denver's also doing a good job of getting over and getting a second body to help defend there.
Well, no penalty there. The referee was right on the spot. "20 minutes gone at CIBER Field, the University of Denver. And is there a pattern emerging? Has either of these sides, can you see one or the other dominating, getting on top?
I think it's been back and forth. I think there's been a minute or two where Denver's had a little better possession. I think there's been the recent spell has been South Dakota State getting themselves back in. And then it becomes things like this, that final ball or that ball through midfield that turns over, and here comes the opposite team on the counter.
Offside against Shelby Raper. It's the 2 or 3 passes, I think, where it's begun to break down. 2 or 3 passes, that fourth pass, that killer pass, and neither side really able to string those 2, 3, 4, 5 passes together at the moment.
Well, both teams do like to play. They like to pass the ball. They like to have it. And I think sometimes you see in these finals, you know, some nerves. Look, the bottom line is these teams have to be successful today if their season's to continue on into the NCAA tournament. So sometimes those nerves get the best of you, and the first 20, 25 minutes show that.
Gaining ground gradually, DU down this near side. Ivans back to goal. Being crowded out, trying to find some space, wriggling one way, then the other. And wins the corner kick. Jackie Dutton has ventured forward. Brooke Booth is also there as well. Here comes the cross. Head go up! And it's in the back of the net. And who else but Brooke Booth once again. She scored on Thursday, and she's opened the scoring here for DU in the Summit League Championship game. And DU lead by 1-0.
Well, good delivery here. That ball just about 6 yards out. You get a close-up angle of it, and both just absolutely committed to getting there and smashing it in the back of the net. Very committed to it. Here's a better angle to see how Booth attacks that. Certainly Inskeep comes and can't get a touch on that, just over the reach of her. And Denver gets what they want in that breakthrough.
I think the way the pattern of the game, Brian, is that the goal was likely to come from a set piece.
I think right now the dangerous moments have come from that, and probably more often than not, anything into the final third has come from set pieces.
Well, Brooke Booth, her goal decided the semi-final against IUPUI on Thursday. Still a long way to go in this contest, only midway through the first half here, but DU Pioneers have got their noses in front against South Dakota State Jackrabbits, 1-0. Brooke Booth was waiting, lurking at the far post, just inside the penalty area, made that darting run, and met the ball full on, beating Nicole Inskeep. Jesse Dancy has come on also for DU. That change has been made while the celebrations were ensuing. Comes in again, Booth with a head on the ball once again for DU. Seems to be the target. Drilled long by Ratcliffe. Out of play though, DU throw. Taken quickly. But again, it is that breakdown of play, both sides. Both sides guilty, I think, Brian, of just stringing those passes together.
Yeah, and on Thursday night, you saw a little bit better pace in the passing, confidence in that passing, you know, zipping it around. And we haven't seen that from either team at this point. And you would think now, as Denver's scored, you know, getting on top of it, they might have a little bit of that. But honestly, South Dakota State has to find that. They've got to kind of play themselves back in. Obviously, a lot of soccer to be played here, but their ability to retain the ball, to not chase any right now is going to give them a lot better chance of staying in this game long term.
That's Dancy trying to turn. Just a little too eager. Patterson with the free kick. Can't pick out a white jersey. And DU back in possession. A goal up. Dancy skipping in field. Well, Raper has now switched from left to right in the thick of the action there. Still in centre field. Given away. DU now injecting a little bit of urgency, bit of speed, bit of pace into their attacks. Attacking that gap as they went through there.
Well, as you've said, now you see the pace of passing has picked up. It's not just the physical speed from the players, but it's also the pace the ball's moving.
Dancy over on the far side. Needs some options. This one's a decent cross. This time the header there on that occasion, Anna Willis. It's going to come back again though. Maybe a strike from distance. Here we go, dragged wide of the mark though. Got a good look at that. At the moment, South Dakota State just trying to get the ball out of their half. It's coming back once again. Things may be a little easier second half with a gentle breeze at their back. Goal kick for the Jackrabbits.
Well, there is a little breeze. I'm not sure it's significant enough to really play a factor in it. Obviously, and now they're going to change. Inskeep's going to back off, and Patterson will take the goal kick. So I think they've recognized the problem of getting it out of their own half here.
It's got a little bit more on it. It's winning that header in midfield for South Dakota State, because it is just coming straight back. A little misread there. Goes out of play. Throw to South Dakota State. Sislo doing well, finding space, now looking for an option. It's that pass. Not finding a teammate at the moment. I think we were talking about it on Thursday, Brian. It's making those runs, the 30, 40, 50-yard runs, and then when you've got to chase back because the pass is just slightly awry, that can be a little demoralizing at times.
Well, as a player, you don't want to feel like you're running for no reason, and the more your team is able to possess the ball, the more those runs pay off for you, the more you can stay into that mentally, and the more willing you are to do it next time. And I think that's one of the things that we saw on Thursday at times, were players that were switching off because, look, they don't get the ball, we can't retain it long enough for us to get in behind, so why am I going to do that work? And you're right, it does become, I guess, in a way, demoralizing.
The ball cleared by DU. McNary giving chase back to Inskeep. Patterson looking for an option, looking for an outlet, and just having to go long. There were options over on the far side. Dutton.
The space for South Dakota State to play in is going to be between lines there, and you wonder if maybe Potterville might not move into a wider spot or a spot between the center back and the fullback and try to come off the line and get balls into those little gaps, because they're not going to be able to, she's not a player that's going to run by them anyway. So can you find little spaces? And Thursday night they did a good job of moving her around and getting her on the ball in different spots.
Well, Raper's away here. Great run, great ball, and there's a great chance here for South Dakota State. Vargas saves the first one, parries and does just enough. Well, that was a fantastic run from Raper and a real chance.
But there you see Potterville coming off, getting the ball deeper, and she's able to send Raper in. And Shelby Raper has been dangerous when she's able to face her defender and run with space with no cover, and she certainly created a chance there. Their best chance of the game.
Vargas doing just enough. And, fortune favours the brave on that occasion. Tina Vargas getting it away, parrying it. And there was a DU boot that got on the end of it and cleared the danger. Half an hour gone. DU leading by 1-0. Brooke Booth. Goal that separates these two sides in the Summit League Championship final. Back to Adams. Raper making a run down the far side. Just a little heavy there from the fullback. More changes being made. Paige Diamond coming in then. Early bit of action for Diamond. Booth. Back to Booth once again. Opening it up. Willis. Nicely done. To bring the ball down. Just seems a little hurried from South Dakota State at the moment.
They really haven't been able to gain the confidence. Outside of the one break, maybe a second break, they just haven't had a lot of confidence when they've been on the ball.
Drilled across, just taken off the expectant boot of Jessie Dancy there. DU will try again. On the far side. Conley. Adams does well. Stands strong. Patterson will look to clear the lines here. Drill down the far side. Raper giving chase against Jackie Dutton. Good work from Dutton. Down the line to Conley. First time. Patterson does well. Booth gets a toe in to Dancy. Conley cutting inside. Options outsider. Keeping the ball in. Going to attack the lines. And Skeet gives the call.
Well, and both teams, the most effective way they've gone forward is with pace. The slow build-up hasn't worked for them. They want to go move the ball, get bodies forward, support the ball once it's played, and really get it moving here.
Was Diana Potterveld feeling that one. Free kick for South Dakota State. You trail in the final of the Summit League Championship. Patterson thumps this one high. Vargas clutching that one from the air. There's a fine line between just finding that grey area in between goalkeeper and back four, and that was maybe just a little too close to the keeper, as we saw there.
Well, and it hangs, and you mentioned a little bit of a breeze in her face, and you know that ball hanging up just so the goalkeeper can time it, can come attack it.
Into the last 10 minutes, a double change here for South Dakota State. Actually, 3 changes.
Entering the game for South Dakota State.
Lang Wiedemeyer looking to have a big push towards the end of this first half. Try and tie things up before the interval. Fresh legs on.
The players that have combined to cause the most trouble have just come off. So I think Wiedemeyer's looking at that, must be looking at that push for the second half. Can he get fresh bodies? Can he keep it solid here and get himself 45 minutes away from getting that goal he needs?
South Dakota State winners in 2008. DU winners in 2013. It's DU that lead here. Dancy, ball catching it as she was running through. DU once again though. Willis looking for Dancy, back to goal, well anticipated there by McNary. South Dakota State. We'll have the free kick, in fact. Referee adjudged handball. Referee wanting it back a few yards. It's the second time Dancy's not quite been ready for the ball. And South Dakota State can try and build. They'll try again.
Well, South Dakota State's creating good width in these situations, but they keep trying to play that narrow ball. And you know, if the fullback's going to tuck in, if they're going to take away that, they need to play the wide ball, stretch the back four of Denver, and see if they can get in behind that way.
A little too much there from Danny Patterson on that occasion. Change here for DU. Jackie Dutton going off, and Shannon Johnson coming on for the last 7 minutes or so here at CIBER Field. DU leading by 1-0 against South Dakota State. The first half of this encounter. Dancy still with work to do. DU bring the ball away. Not too many options in the middle at the moment. Conley making a late run at the far post. And she is now looking to be found. And offside called against DU. Just a few moments out, just to that's Danny Patterson getting herself sorted. Took a bit of a battering there.
Patterson certainly been tested. A lot of these late runs from Denver dragging her around a little bit. She's having to go side to side to try to help defend, whether she's defending 1v1 or providing cover. She's had a lot to do in this first half.
Hinskeep shielding her eyes from the sun. McNary. Conley giving chase, does well. McNary tidies up, now looking for that ball. Again, Brian, it's that outlet. The ball comes straight back, and you know, we spoke on Thursday. It's those moments in games that can be draining when you tidy up as McNary did there, trying to get that ball to give you that outlet, and it comes straight back at you.
Well, certainly the player that's best at dealing with that is Potterveld. And here you see a little replay of the foul, and DU will get a chance to put it down and hit a ball back into the box. I think you'll see very similar things again. Top of the six. Can they get that ball in there? Can they challenge?
Hinskeep comes, it's brave. Has taken a bit of a knock for her troubles there, but Nicole Hinskeep did what she had to do. Got something on it.
Here you get a look at that ball once again, floated a little bit high. Hinskeep comes out, gets enough on it. Not a whole lot in the foul there, but
Willis collects. Dancy's making a move, creating some space through the middle though. Dancy is found and she's onside. Can she create a space? Conley at the far post and is offside, Lauren Conley.
well, Conley's able to look down the line. You want her just to hold off, arc that run a little bit and be able to get in late.
Offside, the flag's up. The referee's not seen it yet. Play continues. This could be interesting. Now he has.
Well, South Dakota State trying to get into those wide areas. They at least get across, understanding that it's offside. But I think those overloads, their ability to get into those spaces with two players, maybe find 2v1 out in those wide areas, is going to give them a chance, because they have not been able to find it centrally. And Denver's been very narrow in that back four.
Given away. Time. Now spreading the play, getting it wide, DU on this near side. Johnson involved. I hear the orders being barked from the bench over on the far side as we approach the last few moments of this first 45 minutes. Possession-wise, DU and certainly in areas of danger. The final third, DU have been the stronger. If you are Lang Wiedemeyer, how do you address the concern with getting the ball out of your half, but also maybe finding space on the flanks instead of trying to go through a congested centre?
Well, I think exactly like you've said, you have to try to play into the feet of those players wide and then get people around them. You know, get the fullbacks involved. They're going to have to be, especially down a goal in a championship game, they're going to have to get the fullbacks on. They're going to have to play a little cat and mouse and see if Denver will defend in those wide areas. Because to this point, they haven't been able to combine. They don't have anybody that really runs behind from a central position. And now, of course, we're not seeing it right now because Raper's on the sideline, but those players can get at him. Raper, Hatcher, they can get at him when they have the ball in space wide. So you've got to get the ball there.
Well, 1-0 at the break. Lang Wiedemeyer will try and turn things around for the second 45. As we're into the last 90 seconds here at CIBER Field. Jesse Dancy giving chase, just rolling out a play over on the far side. Conley battling. Another chance as we approach the final minute of this game. DU sending bodies up. Brooke Booth is among them as the 1-minute call has just been announced. This will be thumped towards the penalty spot, shielding their eyes from the sun. Looked like a hand in there, but referee allows play to continue. Off the DU players coming in. And it's South Dakota State racing away now as we approach the last 30 seconds of the first half. A little heavy on that. Vargas should gather, and she does.
Certainly promising in the fact that they tried to break quickly. I think Denver, especially in this final minute, keeping 4 players back, being able to just drop and narrow off and deal with that, did a good job in handling it. But that's where South Dakota State has got to continue to keep the pace up. When they win it, can they go fast?
Last few seconds here at CIBER Field. Ball put out of play. And there we go. Half time here at CIBER Field. DU leading by 1-0. Brooke Booth with the goal against South Dakota State. The Summit League Championship final. There's still very much lots to play for. We'll be looking back on the first 45 minutes, and we'll be looking ahead to the men's championship in just a few minutes. It is time for the second half of the Summit League Championship final. DU, the University of Denver, the home side, the host side against South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. And it's DU, the defending champions, in fact, leading by 1-0 at the break. Second 45 to come. South Dakota State have been beaten. Nicole Inskeep has been beaten once. So Brooke Booth, after 22 minutes with a header from a corner on the right-hand side, they got the better of Inskeep. At the other end, Tina Vargas has also had some work to do as well, keeping Shelby Raper at bay. And also having to contend with a number of high balls into the penalty area. But it is Tina Vargas that's kept the clean sheet so far. Nicole Inskeep conceding just the 1 goal. Still very much anybody's contest here. And I imagine the opening 10 minutes of the second half will be key certainly for South Dakota State. Well,
South Dakota State's going to have to attack it. And there you see Vargas, and Vargas is probably going to be under pressure. You tend to see, and we saw it Thursday night, as the game draws on, 1-goal games, bigger balls into the box. How steady is she going to be when tested with those big, long balls, judging the flight of balls, a little bit of sun in her eyes from this second half. A lot of things going on. But certainly a big 45 minutes for her.
45 minutes away, potentially, from retaining the Summit League Championship. DU. Only one other team has previously won on home soil. It was Oakland, who've won this title 8 times. In his 23rd season, Jeff Hooker A man you know very well, Brian Crookham.
Jeff Hooker's been a fixture in this community and soccer in this community as a player, as a coach, for all of those 23 years plus a couple. So certainly a guy that's well respected in the soccer community in Colorado.
On the other side, Lang Wiedemeyer, experienced man as well in his 15th season. As we get set for the start of the second half, we are underway. DU kicking from right to left in the second 45. 45 minutes from the championship, or potentially 45 minutes from overtime and then PKs and all the drama that brings. But that's maybe just getting ahead of ourselves. Brooke Booth's goal separating the two sides. A third goal in the last 5 matches for the number 12. She timed her run well for that goal.
One of the things that we talked about with Lang Wiedemeyer after the game on Thursday was, you know, they made that game a little bit more difficult than they needed to at the end. And if you can cruise your way through that, if you can kind of come into this phase rested, you're in a lot better shape. And I think that was a little bit of a concern, is how much energy they wasted in it. We'll see if that plays into it in the second half here. You know, just that little bit of, is there enough in the tank?
Bothner with the ball outside, and then Inskeep will, in fact, concede the corner kick. Opening few moments of the second half, and DU have a corner kick on this near side. The Pioneers left.
I think we know who to watch for on this corner.
This one is actually drilled in a little low. And the second successive corner to follow.
With the success they've had, I think Stella Norman wants to get that up. Edge of the 6, have a little pace on it, and let both, and then they're going to play deeper. I think with the success, you want to see them put it right back in there and see if they can continue along that pathway with 2 goals in 3 days coming from that type of situation.
And in that situation also, Brian, as we watch here, there's a little bit of nerves there. Goodness me, this could be punished, South Dakota State. And there's some good defending. And a goal kick, according to the referee.
Well, Inskeep needs to kind of settle a little bit here, because you know, she made the mistake to give away the corner to begin, and then this ball that comes in, and a good bit of emergency defending here just to keep that ball from going on goal. But need to settle a little bit, make sure that you don't give away. You know, you're in this game. It's 1-0. Don't panic.
There's a second short goal kick there from Inskeep, and maybe similar to what we saw in the first half, Brian, there's a need for maybe one of the defenders to drop back and start taking those goal kicks if Inskeep is not entirely comfortable.
You saw late in the half when they did that, Denver was able to stand a player high, and it became hard to defend on the second balls there. And you know, obviously, ideally, you don't want to have a field player taking the goal kick. It drops that offside line. It allows second balls to come right back at you, and it almost defeats the purpose of it. But though obviously there's a confidence problem in getting the ball out of the 18, and it has nothing to do with breeze or the direction the wind's blowing right now. It's just stepping up and putting your foot through the ball.
There's not too much of a breeze actually now in this second half. It seems to have subsided, so we'll keep an eye on that. Coming back to the DU's corners, you'd have thought with 2 successive corners you'd have varied them up. You'd have had maybe, if you were going to drill one in, the first one, and then the second one to go a little bit longer. We'll just break away and just keep an eye on this from South Dakota State. Well, watch there on this near side by Shelby Wesley.
You see how narrow Denver is there to defend, and South Dakota State is going to have to get the ball into those wide areas. Basically, they're only about 22, 24 yards wide in that back 4 when the ball is central. So South Dakota State has got to get the ball into the wide channels, try to overload those wide channels and look for the early balls in behind there.
Raper over on the far side. Wesley giving chase. Given away. Raper does well though to chase back and wins back possession. Just couldn't quite get the ball out from under her feet. McNary will rebuild. Stretching the play. McNary giving chase, does well. Finds Yule, Madison Yule back to Patterson. Hatcher. Over on the far side to Raper, Wesley in front of her. Just did enough to force her away from goal.
Well, you'd like to see Raper there. Take her on, put her head down, run at her, get into that wide area. She's dribbled narrow, and it's right into the strength of this Denver defense. When you get wide, when you get Wesley isolated there with no cover, go at her. Raper did some great things in the first half on the dribble, and you want to see her express herself in the second half here.
Tina Vargas to get us restarted with a goal kick. Plenty of white jerseys around there, and they win the ball back. They do well. Now what can they do with it? And maybe that's one of the other difficulties from the first half that is followed into the second, is that the player that has the ball doesn't have too many options.
Well, they do such a good job of trying to get to the ball, almost to a fault, because then when you pick your head up, you know, the shape of it is so compact that it's hard to play out of there. And I think that has played into their ability to possess it. They've worked hard as a group to recover it, but then in transition, you know, where are you going to go? What's the simplest option to get out? Because if you make it complex in there, it's not going to happen.
Still plenty of time, but DU leading by that 1-0 against South Dakota State here at CIBER Field. In the second half of this championship game. Just things a little quieter on the two respective benches over on the far side. Waiting to see how things pan out in the opening 10 minutes of this game. We've had about 8 minutes of this second half, and have you seen a shape emerge? Have you seen any? Certainly there seems to be, as we just break away again. Let's see how this one unfolds. Willis on the far side, body still pouring through the middle for DU, but plenty of white jerseys back. Could be a shot from distance here. Got some good laces through that at some distance as well, only as far as Shelby Wesley though. Comes back, maybe another shot from distance, 25 yards from goal. Trying to thread their way through DU at the moment. South Dakota State standing firm, keeping organised defensively. I was going to say, have we seen a pattern of any sort, bearing in mind the game needs to change as far as the Jackrabbits are concerned?
Well, I think what you've seen is definitely a willingness to go try to win the ball back higher, you know, an urgency to the game. Now, is that going to translate into being able to break down the back four? It hasn't yet, but you know they've at least come out with an attitude. There's definitely not a look to this team like they don't feel like they can get back into it.
Willis to Wesley. Raper closing down the space. Wesley does well to turn, finds some space, gets the cross in. Inskeep at the back post. It was flapping, and it's been put behind for another corner kick for DU.
Really good job of Wesley wide there, being able to just gain a step and whip that ball across. And you talked about that teasing ball earlier. Can you ask the goalkeeper to start to come, but not quite get there? And then can you get bodies on the ball in the back post?
Well, third corner kick of the second half. This has got to be a little different. It's not, in fact. It's similar to the other two, drilled in low. You had success with the high ball, delivered at pace, and the first three we see of the second half are not following the same vein, which is a little surprising.
Well, I think what we do know is that Denver has drilled a lot of this on the training ground, and you know, I think they're looking for something specific in that. But as you said, once you've had success there, and throughout the tournament we've seen those restarts be very successful. Get it in the box. You've got an animal in Booth that'll go get it, and you know, give her a chance to go get the second goal.
And also defensively, as far as South Dakota State are concerned, if you've seen from a DU standpoint, if you've seen Inskeep and the defense maybe not fully up to speed at the start of this second half, you want to apply some pressure, you want to put those aerial balls and ask some questions. Well,
Inskeep has not looked as comfortable in this game as she did in the last with dealing with those balls in the air. So you know, I think it all comes together to say you'd probably prefer that ball to get whipped in the box.
A little over 10 minutes gone in this second half. Still just the one goal separating the two sides. Harder goes downfield, wins the free kick. A little late there from Hatcher. The lion's share of the possession again so far has been DU, but at 1-0 you're still very much in the game.
Oh, definitely in the game, and we saw it Thursday night. You know, these teams that are in this conference know how to compete. They know how to approach, you know, even they're all resilient. They've all been down at times this year.
There's a chance at the other end. Ball just wouldn't quite fall. And it's out of play on this near side for a DU throw. How quickly that changed from one end to the other. Now the pressure back on South Dakota State. Back to goal. Drilled in. Takes a deflection. Going through the middle, DU. It's ricocheting off two or three bodies. Eventually gets some distance to the Jackrabbits, and a change to be made here. I think this is Caitlin Higgins coming in. And Shelby Wesley making way. A similar change to the first half, at a similar moment, in fact. Potterfeld.
Well, there you see Potterville getting the ball in deep. Harder actually chasing out of that hole, but no South Dakota State bodies trying to get in behind, trying to fill that space that's been vacated. Potterville certainly attracts a lot of attention there. They need to use that to their advantage and put bodies behind Harder.
Surging forward once again, DU dragging the ball back. That's cut out by Johnson. Doesn't get too much distance. It's going to come back. And a free kick given by the referee. Dead centre against Shannon Johnson. Sorry, against Tori Poole, should I say.
Well, here we get a look at it. Trying to move the ball early. Just get feet tangled up. This certainly creates a good opportunity. We've seen Harder strike from distance before. I wouldn't be shocked if she goes to goal here.
A similar distance on Thursday. It was at the other end. And caused some problems against IUPUI. 25 yards from goal. He's not afraid to have a dip, is Sam Harder. Here she comes to strike this one over the top of the wall, and it was just always rising up and over the top of the crossbar.
Well, she's, as you said, she's not afraid to have a go, and it's a little bit more than that. Doesn't really challenge Inskeep to move either.
Tori Paul has just made way for South Dakota State. Scored 2 goals on Thursday, the first of which a Summit League record, the quickest, 41 seconds. Inskeep will tidy up at the back. Just enough out of play on this South Dakota State left-hand side. Delaney Ratcliffe will take the throw, get us restarted. Sislo back to Ratcliffe. Into Potterfeld. Raper outsider. Bothner guarding. Just a little tight there for South Dakota State. And DU can bring the ball away. Gifted back to the Jackrabbits. And DU are doing a good job defensively, getting bodies back, but again, approaching the final third, over halfway for South Dakota State, and just those options, that final ball, that killer ball.
And it's so straightforward. It's in straight lines right now, and they've got to find ways to find angles, to run off at angles, to open the game up a little bit, because if they don't, if it becomes one pass, Denver comes across, stays and hunts and packs, and does a good job of defending straightforward.
Now it's options for South Dakota State. Any bodies over? There's a few. Sislo trying to make something happen here. Raper with her back to goal. And again, far too many crimson jerseys. They're going to have to do this the hard way. And again, they ran out of space and ran out of options.
There are a lot of very talented individuals on this South Dakota State team, and I think, you know, their ability to kind of utilize all those in the same in the run of play has been pretty poor to this point. They've got to get them all moving and synchronized, and you know, can they play into a forward and then get another body behind? Can they get into those wide areas and let some pretty talented players take players on 1v1 and create chances? They just haven't quite had it all together yet.
Some chasing to do here. Making ground, DU. They are well marshalled at the back by South Dakota State. Not fully, though, again, clearing the danger. It's going to come back. Inskeep thought about it. Sam Harder delivers a decent ball in. Not properly cleared. Back to Harder again. She'll try again. This one's floated a little bit more now. Offside. Won't count. Wide of the mark anyway.
Well, Harder gets 2 chances at delivering that long ball, and she's good with it. But just a step or so offside there. Certainly an aerial threat from Denver.
Harder will tidy up. Sislo, who's looked busy, looked lively since coming on. Seems to be wanting the ball at every opportunity, making herself available.
This is better from South Dakota State.
Just one touch, maybe too many. The space was closed down by Adams. A little over 25 minutes to go at CIBER Field. DU leading by 1-0 against South Dakota State. the Summit League Championship game. South Dakota State coming through on Thursday by 2-1 against North Dakota State, and IUPUI were those conquered by DU. That was by 1-0. Brooke Booth with that goal. Her goal separates these two sides this afternoon. Diana Potterveld is one of those to make way. Taking a breather, maybe to get some energy back for one final push, as Lang Wiedemeyer, head coach of South Dakota State, looks to try and wrestle this game back. You see there, Brian, it's very congested, and yet over on the far side there's plenty of space. If somebody just looks up, just opens up their view, their peripheral vision, and there's plenty of space and opportunities maybe.
And I think the confidence of South Dakota State to open their bodies there, open the game up and be able to do that, on both sides of this game, it's been limited, and you see in those situations where Denver has a very similar situation. But part of that is, I think, as a group, both teams have tried to defend well, and put pressure on the ball and not allowed a lot of free play, which has made the game a little choppier.
Good challenge. South Dakota State still full of energy, full of running, harrying and hassling and chasing down. But DU have the ball. Willis giving chase on this near side. Glancing header. Back post, maybe half a chance here. Good work defensively. That was Ratcliffe once again. Free kick given away there by Jenny Sislow. Sam Harder scampering across. I think you are pretty much guaranteed she'll be delivering this one. The sun is still high in the sky, so not too much of a problem. It's over that side where the sun will be setting in the next few hours, but it's high enough not to create too much of a concern for the defense here. Harder delivers the free kick. It's a little bit lower in towards the near post. Just wanting somebody to attack that from DU. Cleared for the time being by South Dakota State. Midway through the second half. Just the narrowest of margins here between these two sides. South Dakota State, breaking as they were, but weren't breaking in numbers. It breaks down once again.
Look at where Denver has kept the pressure, kept the ball to one side, then they immediately win it back. And I think, to be fair, South Dakota State's done a similar job. But now DU can break the pressure. Once they win it on one side, the one thing you see with Denver is they immediately try to get it and try to find the other touchline. And that's the key to opening this up a little bit. And I think South Dakota State has been a little bit more narrow-sided in the way they've looked as soon as the ball's turned over in a transition.
A double substitution made by South Dakota State. One of those making way, Shelby Raper, is heading off to the sidelines, and Nicole Hatcher. With 21 minutes to go. Two key players over the course of a game and a half for South Dakota State. I imagine Lang Wiedemeyer is conserving their energy for a final push. So that's Raper, Hatcher and Potterveld all on the sidelines. One final push. If Isaiah can keep it at 1-0, clearly they'd love to get a goal back. Is that the plan, Brian, do you think, to bring those 3 back on at some stage in the next 5 minutes or so?
I think they've got to. Your season's on the line. Get them back in. Give it the best go you can give over this time period. I don't think you can wait too long either, because I think the game is going to need those players.
Lauren Conley coming on for Angelica Pacheco. It's now DU struggling to get any distance downfield in this second half, and South Dakota State can maybe take advantage. Some defending to do here for Mackenzie Bothner. Rolls out a play over on the far side, throw to DU. 20 minutes to go. Still time, still plenty of time for South Dakota State. They try and pick their way through. Too many bodies again in the way. Defending well. DU.
Once again, the movement, the options that you talked about earlier, just not a whole lot of options there. And here's what this game has really kind of become is a bit of a battle. It's a ground war here. Nobody really establishing themselves as the team that wants to have possession as much, although Denver, I think, has had a little bit more of that.
Back to Diamond. Goes long. Paige Diamond gets good stuff from Jeff Hooker. Some more changes. And Jessie Dancy coming back in. She caused some problems in the first half and was busy and showing some speed up top for DU. And you can hear Diana Potterveld is back into the contest. 18 minutes to go. The leading scorer for South Dakota State would love to add to that tally.
Well, she has been the provider all year long. She's been that player that if they needed something created, it was her that was going to do it. And I think they're going to look over this next 18 minutes to her to provide that spark.
Bothner. Back to Diamond. Booth standing strong, back to Harder. Ball over the top, having to be dealt with by South Dakota State. And the free kick against Jessie Dancy. Taking it quickly, South Dakota State. Harder with the header backwards. Vargas will keep that from going over the goal line here. And that's what South Dakota State have really got to pin their hopes on. Are the set pieces in the final third, and corner kicks being one of them.
Well, and to create set piece opportunities in the final third, you've got to get the ball there. You've got to be more proactive in playing in Denver's end of the field. Or those opportunities don't come, you've got to make an effort to get the ball there, to run there, to put bodies there.
Because not too much has come from open play. Too many opportunities for the Jackrabbits. Dancy just trying to create some space, get a shot away. It's well defended. For now, it's going to come back. Brooke Booth to Bothner on the far side. That's Conley, just cuts inside, skipping away, feeding or trying to feed Dancy. Won't come down the ball. And some good tigerish defending going on back there. Vargas, who's not had a great deal to do second half, was called upon 2 or 3 times in the first 45. Not too many clouds in this beautiful blue sky above CIBER Field.
Well, there are no excuses in this with weather or anything else. The field is great, the weather's great. very nice place and day to host a championship.
There's a chance here, maybe. Tory Poole got a little bit of space. And again, that final ball just letting South Dakota State down offside against Dancy. Into the last 15 minutes, and there will be more activity. I think, as we expected, Nicole Hatcher will be coming back on for South Dakota State. There'll be a number of changes for DU as well. One final push from both sides. DU looking for that second killer goal, potentially. And South Dakota State looking to get back on level terms. Well, here's a chance. It's going to need a good delivery. It's high, the heads go up, and it's Booth. Gets that clear. Conley, if she can be found, is up top. Finds its way to her eventually by hook or by crook. Bothner, two players in front of her, just carves through the middle, weaving her way, and Inskeep steady as you like.
Well, game a little bit livelier. Obviously, the concern as South Dakota State starts to press for it is going to be that counter. What you've seen there.
Two players coming together there, two DU players, in fact. Trying to determine which one is down. Is that Sheridan Newbury? No, she's just walking away, is she? There's a real coming together as the players take a chance to get some fluids on board. We'll have a look at this.
Big ball and three bodies come together there and ends up DU on DU.
Well, players still down and I think requiring a little bit more attention. I'm going to take a bit of a breather here with just a little over 40, just under 14 minutes to go. DU leading by 1-0 in the Summit League Championship game. We'll be back in a moment. Play has resumed. We had a stoppage for around about 7 or 8 minutes, I believe. Caitlin Higgins has just been taken off the field on a stretcher into the back of a waiting ambulance, having taken a tumble, fallen awkwardly, and we will get an update. But what appeared to be a neck injury, they certainly weren't moving Caitlin Higgins, so our thoughts are with Caitlin from Boulder, Colorado. Play has got back underway. You just can't be too careful these days, Brian, particularly whether it's head injuries, neck injuries, and they've done the right thing. Well,
that's why you don't speculate on these things. You start with the utmost caution, and obviously our thoughts are with her. And now it turns to how do you react as a team in these situations when it's been going your way and you watch a teammate go off the field that way.
So we are into the last 15 minutes of this game. Just the one goal separating the two sides still. And the way they've changed things around with Caitlin Higgins going off. Shelby Wesley's come back in at right back, and Mackenzie Bothner switched back to the left back position. Well, the two sets of players were keeping warm on the side. Not that you needed to necessarily do that, it's a warm afternoon, but keeping the muscles active. No need to get warmed back up again for the restart. We got started as soon as the stretcher bearing Caitlin Higgins was taken from the field. There was some time waiting for the emergency services. They arrived and did their wonderful stuff. So, as we've said once before, reiterating our thoughts with Caitlin Higgins, but back to the action here at CIBER Field. The Summit League Championship game, women's soccer, the decider between the University of Denver and South Dakota State. And with just as we restarted, 13 minutes and 47 seconds to go. If you're South Dakota State, you can't afford to use too many more minutes to get back warm as we see them try and weave their way through here. Diana Potterfeld beaten to the ball there by Sam Harder. He's offside.
You're absolutely right, Richard. They've got to attack this game. They've had a break to organize their thoughts, to talk about what's going to happen, and the biggest thing is going to be urgency now. Can you get yourself in the final third? Can you get the ball in the final third? Can you create chances? It doesn't matter necessarily how those chances come. They haven't done it through free play. So, you know, whatever it takes now to create chances, whether it's restarts, whether it's longer balls in there, you know, putting bodies there, moving players forward to create these opportunities.
Well, they've got some defending to do, in fact, for South Dakota State. A free kick, and you can see from the urgency, South Dakota State eager, desperate to get play restarted, chasing after the ball to retrieve it, even though it is a DU free kick on this near side, the University of Denver left-hand side. Players waiting on the edge of the penalty area. There's 3 or 4 players already in there making the move. Now just holding the line, checking, starting again. Ball delivered in towards the far post. And there's good work there from Nikolinski, and a free kick given the way of South Dakota State.
Well, good solid strike into the box. They're very dangerous, and Inskeep's able to get a call in there. And then in that second phase of it, foul on Denver, and will come out this way for South Dakota State.
Play on, says the referee. Some space. And a chance here, offside though. Again, one of those chances, just a little eager.
But we haven't seen that in the game, so they're at least making it. I mean, 2 offside calls in the last 2 minutes. That's something that hasn't been present in this game. So, you know, is it too late to start that process? But they've got to continue to press that line, to get balls forward and create chances from it.
Long ball upfield from Sam Harder. Into the last 10 minutes. Possession soccer from DU now, which would further frustrate South Dakota State. Without the ball, they're going to struggle to find that equalising goal. Skipping through, that was a dangerous ball over the top that took a deflection. Inskeep will gather. Now she's just got to look to get the ball long, get it into the danger zone. She pumps the ball downfield. Helped on. Referee skipping out of the way. On the congested side. That has been the pattern of play on occasions where particularly South Dakota State have, instead of spreading the play, getting out of those congested areas, it's been that built up in the traffic, and the players break down.
No, it definitely, Denver's done a good job in transition of just keeping it in one spot. You know, and I think their immediate pressure, their ability to keep it there, and at times the lack of ability from South Dakota State to take up a shape that will allow them to get out is really affected the game.
Well, here's a chance for South Dakota State. They take the corner kick quickly. It's delivered over, half cleared by Sam Harder, drilled back in, takes a deflection, but Tina Vargas was alert to the danger. Diana Potterfeld was bearing down on goal. But just since the break, since the stoppage, this has been a much more urgent, much more positive South Dakota State side.
Well, they've definitely taken that initiative that they have to try to come up with with the goal they desperately need right now.
Going long. Vargas making the call of away, and away it goes. This is going to be a frantic final few moments for DU. They are under a bit of pressure which they've not really endured in this game so far. And here we go, South Dakota State doing a good job of forcing turnover. Shelby Raper has looked busy. A call of no foul, eventually crowded out. DU wary of giving away free kicks in or around the edge of the box, certainly in the penalty area would be a penalty kick, but again, good chasing and good harrying and hassling from South Dakota State. We're going to have some more changes. Three changes made by DU then as we approach the final 5 minutes at CIBER Field, the University of Denver. The host team are just edging it at the moment, as they have been since the 22nd minute. Brooke Booth with the goal. We've had a stoppage due to an injury to Caitlin Higgins, who's been taken away to hospital on a stretcher, and another substitution made by DU. Since that stoppage, South Dakota State have had a chance to get some words from Lang Wiedemeyer, their head coach, and they've come out with a bit more of a spring in their step. We're now 5 minutes remaining. Are we in for a grandstand finish? Bit of pressure here for South Dakota State, applying to DU. Everybody back though from DU as they defend for their lives. An opportunity here. It's taking a deflection, has stayed in though. It's a South Dakota State throw-in. Right down by the corner flag on this near side. South Dakota State right. Urgent instructions coming from the bench from Jeff Hooker. We now are into the final 4 minutes of this game. Time is ticking by.
We just saw Jeff Hooker, and time's not ticking quite fast enough for him. One more header for Sam Harder to deal with. Back to the keeper. He's just got to go long for South Dakota State. Nicole Inskeep pumps that one downfield. This one is going to bounce. Where does it go to fall? Potterfelt. Play continues. Shot from distance. Vargas tips that one over. It's a great save. It's a great effort. And South Dakota State really are knocking on the door now. But a lot of urgency. Potterfeld being able to play, being strong and dishing this ball off, and a great save from Vargas to keep Denver ahead here. Once again, good job of getting things here. Goalkeepers have joined. Everybody in the box now.
Here comes the corner kick. Heads go up. Where's that one going to bounce? McNary. Delivered back in, offside. Jenny Sisler with the shot on goal, tipped over by Tina Vargas, desperate to keep a clean sheet, which would keep her side ahead in this championship game. The Summit League entering the last 2 minutes of the women's season. The men's still to be decided over this weekend, and 6 teams with a chance of making the final 4. That'll be unfolding over the next few hours. And then they will be back here. The 4 men's semi-finalists will be back here next weekend. Still pushing, Diana Pottervelt. One last push, the young lady from Fort Collins here in Colorado. I spoke to Jeff Hooker on Thursday, and winning on home soil would maybe just have a little something extra special than winning a year ago against North Dakota State. That was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We've still got some work to do into the last minute. Anywhere will do at the moment for DU, but they're not getting the ball at the moment. Vargas is having to come, and it's there! Oh my word! 31 seconds to go, and would you believe it? South Dakota State are right back in this game. This is not finished.
Well, we talked about you can't score if the ball doesn't end up in the box, and Hatcher just fights her way through this, just gets enough on it to get the ball past Vargas and into the back of the net. 31 seconds remaining in this game, and it only takes one.
Well, you could hear the shouts and screams of delight from South Dakota State, leaps of joy. Jeff Hooker had been bellowing at his players to get possession, get the ball away. Well, well, well. We are heading at this point for overtime. 2 periods of 10 minutes. Into the last 20 seconds. Drama at the end of this contest, at the end of the 90 minutes, should I say. Tina Vargas is certainly not moving freely. 6, 5, 4, and there we go. It has ended 1-1 after the 90 minutes, and South Dakota State are still in, and they are still fighting. Brian Crookham. Drama. 41 seconds they scored after in the first game on Thursday, and they've scored 31 seconds to go. They don't give up.
Well, they don't mind a fight, do they? They've come in, and one of the things the first things that Lang Wiedemeyer said to us was this team is resilient, that they have character, and I think that that's shown here in their willingness to fight through it. You know, you had a feeling that they had waited too long to kind of throw the kitchen sink at it. They hadn't created enough, but I guess they created just enough to keep the game going at this point. The challenge will be now, with the game even, how do they approach overtime? And you know, are they content to kind of manage this out, or do they still stay very aggressive, throw the numbers they threw forward through the overtime period?
Brooke Booth with the goal after 22 minutes for DU in the 90th minute. 31 seconds to go. Nicole Hatcher squaring it all up. We're going to go to overtime. Don't go away. You rejoin us at CIBER Field. Well, we thought it was all over. DU were just seconds away from retaining the Summit League Championship. Nicole Hatcher came up, scored an equalising goal with just 31 seconds left. We can take a look at this high ball in. It was a hopeful ball in, Brian, and, well, she just gambled.
Well, she did. And we were talking earlier in the week that you can't win the final if you're not in the final. That's a Jeff Hooker quote, but you can't score goals if the ball doesn't end up in the attacking third, and for the first time all day, the ball ended up in the attacking third, and South Dakota State gets a clear chance on goal, and they make the most of it.
And it's about momentum now, isn't it? Tina Vargas is fit, and she will take her place back in for overtime. She took a bit of a knock in that goal, but it's about momentum, and you would say momentum's now with South Dakota State.
Well, momentum is with South Dakota State, but they got there by throwing everything at it, and I don't know that that's the way they'll approach overtime. So it becomes about how do they solve this in the run of play in more normal circumstance now, because they just weren't dangerous in the run of play throughout the 90 minutes without throwing everything forward and throwing caution to the wind. So how do you approach this if you're Langwienemeyer?
Well, we are now into overtime, golden goal overtime, which means first team to score and the game is all over. So it is a sudden death format now. In your experience, does that create more aggressive play, or does that have both sides going into their shell, nobody wanting to make a mistake?
If I were guessing here, I'm going to say that Denver is going to be aggressive and South Dakota State is going to still defend extremely well in their own half, but take their chances on the break and not try to get too stretched out here. You know, in my experience, I love the golden goal type scenarios where you can go win it. You can, you know, the ball goes in the net and you run to the locker room cheering. You know, I think these are great moments in the playoffs. But I think you'll see one team attack this just based on the personalities of the team.
I'm trying to think of too many big events that were decided by golden goal. I might even have to go back to the European Championships of 1996. Was that Germany and Czech Republic? I'm trying to think if that was my memory's not as good as it used to be.
Well, I think you were certainly advanced in age in 1996, so I can imagine it's faded even more.
Even more so
yes.
now, yeah. So DU are kicking from right to left in this first period of overtime. Sam Harder with the free kick. Well, they certainly seem to be the ones that are looking to make this count. Inskip chasing from her goal, racing from her goal, smothers the ball. Well, from the restart, just less than 14 minutes to go. Of the 90, we did have a stoppage. Caitlin Higgins was injured, and we've spoken about it prior. But South Dakota State, clearly they got word from Langwienemeyer. Look, you've got less than 14 minutes. Go out and have a go, and they did just that.
Well, your season's over if you don't. So I think they've approached that. They approached that last 13 and a half minutes with that urgency, and they still didn't have a lot of answers, but they didn't need a ton of answers. They needed one goal, and they found that through that longer ball that got in the box, and it became a scramble. And you know, I think if South Dakota State is to get something out of this game, it's going to be because they dig it out. They get in, they defend well, they tackle, they take their chances when they get them, but they're still going to have to be pretty disciplined because this Denver team can get off and running pretty quickly.
Well, if you're Jeff Hooker, though, what have you told your side? Because they must have been on the floor. 31 seconds from retaining the title, and they've got to go through a period of extra time.
Well, this is where you'd love to have more senior leadership in the group, because you have to take that. You've got an injury to a teammate that you're very fond of. You've got a late goal that can be deflating, and you just got to focus on the process here. Can you get the ball? Can you get the ball moving?
High ball into the penalty area. Back to goal. And, turning. That was Hatcher once again. Tina Vargas. Be interesting to see what this kick downfield is like. As you can see, the reaction. She is struggling. Got caught on the or around the right knee, so any of those clearances is going to jar every single time. Ivans, I think it is, giving chase down that far side. Danny Patterson doing a good job defensively. So 2 periods of 10 minutes maximum. Could all be over with a goal, and then we'll go to penalty kicks if it's still level after that additional time. Be the format of 5 penalty kicks per side. And one or the other comes out on top after that, otherwise we go to sudden death. It ain't over till it's over. Highlighted by South Dakota State. Diamond. Managed to get it out from under her feet. Just a little clip there from Shelby Wesley. South Dakota State winning the Summit League Championship back in 2008 with a win over Oakland. That was in Illinois. And they're looking to beat Denver in their own backyard.
Be smart! Be smart!
Diamond, only as far as Ratcliffe. Potterfelt battling away with Harder and Wesley. Wesley just taking no risks. Helped on by Norman. Space over on the top. That's well anticipated there by Delaney Ratcliffe. And it's Raper down the far side, getting the better of Wesley. No, not on that occasion, just showed a little too much of it. Sam Harder gets it away.
Well, South Dakota State has certainly shown that they're carrying that momentum into this overtime period. They're the first to the ball in a lot of these cases, and they still haven't been quite as good on the ball as they'd like to be at times. They've given it away a little bit cheaply, but they've definitely been more aggressive in the way they've defended. They've been on the front foot throughout this overtime period.
All credit to Tina Vargas. She's getting some distance still on her kicks, but she is clearly in some discomfort every time she clears the ball downfield. She's not going to want to have too many more of those clearances. Well, here's a chance here for Sam Harder to put one into the mix. Straight down the middle. Nothing given. Corner kick, in fact. Nothing given in terms of a penalty kick. She's being called for by DU. Instead, they'll have to settle for a corner kick on this near side. DU left. Delivered towards the back post, headed back across goal and over the top of the crossbar. And you look at those corners and you ask yourself, those 2 or 3 at the start of the second half, we said at the time, that is where the danger's coming from.
Well, it has come from there, and what's even more interesting is South Dakota State put a player, Shelby Raper, went to the line to try to prevent that driven ball low, and is actually created the situation where it has to go high and into the box, and I think that's where Denver's been most dangerous.
That's taken a deflection. What's that going to go? That's going to go the way of a corner kick. Well, here's a chance then for South Dakota State into the last 90 seconds of the first period of overtime. A chance for this to be delivered into the penalty area, into the mix. Here it comes towards the penalty spot, cleared by Kenzie Bothner. Back in, Vargas will gather. I'm surprised she's not got word to the rest of her team. Maybe had somebody helping out, rolling the ball out to them, because those kicks are clearly hurting.
Well, it does appear that she's in pain when she does that, but on the other hand, she's shown good mobility in dealing with the crosses, and she's been able to distribute pretty well. So, you know, as much as she seems to be in pain, I don't think it's affecting a ton of what the end product is here.
Just 30 seconds of this first period to go. And it has been pretty open. Potterfeld spreads the ball wide, a little too much to chase there.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Just running the clock down, so we have half-time in overtime. It is 1-1 between DU and South Dakota State. South Dakota State equalizer coming 31 seconds before the end of the 90. We're going to have the second period of overtime, golden goal, and maybe penalties beckoning here. Don't go too far. We are about to get underway for the second period of overtime. Tina Vargas conceding 31 seconds before the end of the 90. And as a result of that, she's not entirely free of pain. She's getting distance, as Brian Crookham said before the break, but she's wincing every time as these shadows begin to stretch out across CIBER Field. The sun slowly easing its way behind the Rocky Mountains over the far side. The second period of overtime, 1-1, the Summit League Championship final, the deciding game. DU having led for 68 minutes. From the 22nd minute until 31 seconds till the end, before Nicole Hatcher took this game into overtime with a dramatic equaliser. We are into the second period of overtime. Golden goal, remember. The first team to score will stop the clock and they will lift the trophy. Otherwise, if it stays level, we will have penalty kicks.
I think a total shift in momentum and attitude toward these overtime periods, as you see South Dakota State coming out with some energy, coming out with a little purpose in this second overtime period and starting to put Denver under pressure right away.
If that had been me, knowing Tina Vargas is struggling with mobility, you'd have had a dip on goal.
Well, I know I would have, but that would have been just me.
And there are tennis courts over the back, and people playing, not wanting to be disturbed, and their mind would have been ballooned over the top for sure. But Vargas, as you already said, Brian, is getting distance. You just wonder from to shuffle across her goal mouth whether she's got that freedom. So we see Hatcher attacking down the far side, trying to get to the line, get the ball across. Vargas having to scramble all the way over. Just needed a touch. This is a very different South Dakota State side, isn't it?
This is what we expected to see throughout the game. I think a team that liked to get it into wide areas, take players on, trying to create things through 1v1 challenges.
Change being made for DU. Ratcliffe down the line. Got some work for DU to do here. It's Potterfeld scampering through the middle. And a goal kick. South Dakota State not entirely convinced.
You see that their willingness to play out, their willingness to get the fullbacks high and play higher on the field. I mean, it's just a very changed team from what we saw for 80 minutes of this game.
And Vargas is struggling. She's getting these clearances, these types of clearances. It's the dead ball situation that almost allowed South Dakota State to take advantage. And now we're up the other end. The way these two teams are playing, they don't want penalty kicks for sure. Well kept in there by Ashley Adams. Patterson will take this free kick as we approach the last 5 minutes of overtime. Is there one more goal left in this? And it would only take one goal. Sislo carving through the middle with a nice ball. Dealt with. Looking for Loomis. Willis over on the far side to Loomis, gets the return. There's a body in the middle. Can the ball be delivered? No, there's a corner kick coming for DU.
This is when those legs burn, when that little combination, and as a defender you've got to take that drop step and make sure you can defend the return ball there.
Stella Norman with the corner kick from the far side.
Everything out, White, everything out, let's go.
Ensky, a few defenders shielding their eyes from the sun. The ball's delivered near post. Dealt with there by McNary. She's got some more work to do here.
Couple pieces of important work by McNary. She's basically blinded trying to deal with that ball and just gets her body in the path of it, make sure it stays out of the goal mouth there, and then the defending wide to make sure the ball doesn't come back in the box.
Loomis gets high. Wins that one in the air, but it falls. And Adams conceding the throw. A little over 3 minutes to go here at CIBER Field. And it's a throw. Ball in. Drops down. Inskeep gets across and watches that one just roll wide of the mark. Two and a half minutes to go. I imagine the legs are screaming at this point, Brian.
Well, they are, and you got to remember that there were games played on Thursday night too, so you're less than 48 hours out of your last game, now playing overtime.
Adams with a throw, emerging from the shadows. penalty kicks loom large. Is there one more push from DU, the reigning champions, on home soil, charged down, just cleared downfield by Delaney Ratcliffe. Over on the far side, less than 90 seconds to go then. In the Summit League Championship decider. Battling through here. Have we got drama at the end of overtime? South Dakota State just closing down the space, doing very well. Ashley Adams just clearing that one downfield. 1 minute to go. And then it's in the hands of the goalkeepers. They could be the difference makers in this game with penalty kicks looming. 40 seconds to go, still 1 goal apiece. 1 goal would settle it. Minsky just easing any tension, taking that one comfortably. "20 seconds to go. One last chance for DU to avoid going to the lottery that is the penalty shootout. Into the last 10 seconds now. Adams just puts it out of play. I suppose it was only fair the way that the games went on Thursday, Brian, and the way that this game has gone, that we are heading beyond overtime and into a penalty shootout that will decide whether it'll be DU or South Dakota State lifting the Summit League Championship. To a still gloriously sunny afternoon here at CIBER Field, University of Denver. It is finished 1-1 after overtime between the University of Denver, DU, and South Dakota State. It's been a very dramatic 110 minutes. Let's have a look at the highlights, shall we, Brian Crookham?
Well, DU definitely getting rewarded for being the early aggressor there, and the very good delivery, unbelievable challenge, strength in getting into the box and taking that 1-0 lead, but never say die comes in, and South Dakota State just keeps churning at the end and is able to find, in the dying seconds of this game, find the game tying goal.
And looking back on that, if you're Tina Vargas, she came out with legs, but in all honesty, it would take a very brave keeper to be throwing yourself headlong into that, with Nicole Hatchett throwing herself in. Let's have a look at those fouls. 28. That's been a pattern of the game in the sense that it's been a little stop-start. 18 shots on goal. Corner kicks, I know there was a big count on corner kicks as far as DU. I think 7 corner kicks for them. South Dakota State with 4. It's set pieces, it's the big ball overs, the big bomb that has really led to the
well, coming into today, you thought that both teams would want to play, and you thought that you'd see a lot more flow to this game, and what we haven't seen is that. We've seen choppy restarts dominating what's happened here, and these two teams come to this penalty kick competition, I guess both putting all their effort into it, but maybe not seeing the game go exactly the way they wanted to see it.
So the Summit League Soccer Championship, the women's soccer, the finale has gone down to the wire, and it will go to penalty kicks at the left-hand goal. As we see Jeff Hooker, with just 31 seconds, his team were 31 seconds away from retaining the trophy. The first penalty will be DU. Nicole Inskeep. This is where the goalkeepers can be the heroes. Getting ready for the first penalty kick, and it's saved. It is saved by Inskeep. She punched it up onto the underside of the bar and grabbed it at the second attempt.
Well, a great effort by Inskeep to keep it up, and then it hits her in the back of the head, and it nearly rolls back across the line, and she's able to react and grab it.
It's just left of centre. Well, the key here is imagine Tina Vargas, anything a yard or so either side, her mobility is going to be called into question. She was injured in the goal, the equalizer for South Dakota State. So this to give South Dakota State the early advantage, and Tina Vargas has moved a little too early, I think it's fair to say, and it's South Dakota State are one to the good.
Well, there's only a couple players in this game, and I don't know if you did your research on this, but Madison Ewell is the only player on South Dakota State's roster that's taken a penalty this year. She scored on that. Loomis is the only player on the Denver roster that's taken a penalty this year, and she also converted on it.
So a bit of early pressure here for DU to contend with. They are 0 for 1. Stepping up, and that one is dispatched with ease, and it is now 1 out of 2. It is 1-1. South Dakota State stepping up for their second. Shannon Johnson there with the successful PK. It'll be Diana Potterveld stepping up for South Dakota State to make it 2-1. 2 out of 2. Tina Vargas showed her hand far too early on the last one. It's just about asking the player, the taker of the penalty, to make the decision. And again, she's moved early, making it very easy for the South Dakota State players just to pick their spot. It's 2 out of 2, and South Dakota State lead.
Well, you said it, Richard. She's not deceptive in the way she's moving. She's not moving to go a different direction. She's literally just kind of showing her hand early in the run-up, and that becomes a pass into the back of the net there.
So this to make it 2-2 for 2 out of 3 for DU. It's their third penalty. They've all gone to the goalkeeper's right so far. Stepping up DU, and they've done the same again. So they are keeping within touching distance. South Dakota State, though, are still in the driving seat.
Another one where you just step up, let the goalkeeper do the work for you, strike it calmly on goal there.
Alyssa Brazil with the penalty. The third for South Dakota State, just to maintain that advantage, just to keep the pressure on DU. Here she comes, steps up, Vargas moves, and she saves! She picks the right way, and it's all square.
Well, for showing her hand early in the last one, in the last two actually, she's come back the opposite direction, really kind of sets up Brazil for that save, doesn't she? And that ball gets up, and it makes it fairly simple for the goalkeeper to get to it. But good comeback from showing her hand earlier in the last two.
Well, Lauren Connolly now, freshman, number 17, to give DU the lead. Here she steps up and she drills it to the right. Inskeep chose the right way, but it had too much on it from Lauren Connolly. Now the momentum shifts as Shelby Raper steps up.
Well, good solid penalty. Inskeep sets up a little bit to her left and just step up and drive it into the goal and make sure the goalkeeper can't get across.
3 out of 4 then for DU, 2 out of 3 for South Dakota State, and they are taking their third PK. Raper for Franktown, Colorado. Where's this one going to go? And she steps up and she chooses the opposite corner. And Vargas once again showed her hand early, so we are still all square. 3-3.
Well, with Vargas, it's definitely a guessing game. If you choose the wrong way, Vargas is going to be standing there to save it. But she definitely shows it early, and Raper picks the correct corner, and good strike.
And maybe a little bit of pressure back on DU. They've got to make them count. Inskeep just pacing one way and then the other. 3-3. 3 out of 4, the two sides. Here comes another penalty. That one's tucked nicely into the corner. 4-3, 4 out of 5. This has got to be converted.
Well, a good solid penalty. Side netting, good hit, confident. Now, as you said, that pressure shifts.
Frank Gazzaloni with that penalty. Now it is on Nicole Hatcher, whose goal 31 seconds from the end of the 90 took us into overtime and has brought us to this moment. Nicole Hatcher of South Dakota State. Which way is she going to go? Which way is this championship going to go? Hatcher waits. The referee blows his whistle. Hatcher steps up and she chooses right. She coped with the pressure fantastically, Nicole Hatcher. And we now, Brian Crookham, into sudden death.
1 for 1 now. Nice, calm, solid strike again. Just put your foot through the ball, make sure it's on target. Go back and feel like your job's done.
Well, the pressure etched across their faces. It's now down to Sam Harder. As she waits, Nicole Inskeep going through her routine. The senior, Sam Harder, steps up, right-footed, and it's saved by Nicole Inskeep. She chose the right way. And now this is a massive moment for Tori Poole, whose 2 goals got South Dakota State into the final, and she could very well win the thing.
Well, here you see Harder step up, and there's probably not an easier place for a goalkeeper to make that save when it gets up and it gets in where they've just got to reach across there.
Well, this is it. Tori Poole, the hero on Thursday, could be the hero once again. Her teammates wait, bouncing on the halfway line. It's come down to this. The 12th penalty. Poole steps up and she's put the ball in the back of the net, and the celebrations can begin. South Dakota State are the champions. Heartache and heartbreak for DU, but South Dakota State have come back and they will take the title.
Wow. That is an incredible show of resilience from this South Dakota State side. We talked about the fact that they were just having to battle, just having to kind of grind their way through the game and find a chance at the end of it. They did. They found their chance with just seconds remaining. And, you know, like we said earlier, we talked to Lang Wiedemeyer earlier in the week about his side, and one of the things he kept pointing out was their resilience, their ability to bounce back, and that they had given up goals in games early and come back, and they've shown it today, and kind of taken what ended up being a very key break in the game with 13 minutes left to their advantage and getting what they wanted to get out of this championship.
You couldn't see at halftime, and there were spells in that second half you couldn't see South Dakota State scoring. We were saying that the final ball, the final touch, the final third, but as you said, the resilience, and it just took one chance right at the death.
Well, it was, you definitely didn't see it in the run of play. You knew they were going to have to throw everything they had at it and change the way they were playing in the game to try to get that one goal. They got the goal. I think they were very well suited to go to penalties in this game. Very happy to go to penalties in this game, and they got the result from there.
So, as the celebrations just begin to get underway here for South Dakota State, they have won. It finished 1-1 after overtime, and they've won on penalties by 5 goals to 4.